All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the New York State Interagency Winter Assistance Workshops. My name is Alex Carmen, and I work for the Department of Public Service. I will be your MC for the event. Today, we have 6 New York State agencies presenting information about programs to help New Yorkers manage their winter heating bills, become more energy efficient, and stay safe this winter. The goal of this workshop is to provide you with a one-stop shop for information, materials, and resources that can help you and your constituents during the winter. Please note that the webinar is being recorded and will be made available soon. We provided the slides to those participants who pre-registered electronically. For everyone else who would like a copy, we will provide more details on how you can obtain the slides at the end of the workshop. We have a full program today, but before we turn it over to the presenters, I will make some brief introductions. On the panel today, we have staff from the Division of Housing and Community Renewal, or HCR, the New York Power Authority, or NYPA, the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, or NYSERDA, the New York State Office for the Aging, or SOFA, and the New York State Department of Public Service, or DPS. And last but not least, the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, or OTDA. There are 2 ways you can ask questions to the presenters during today's event. First method, you can enter a question into the Q&A box during the workshop. Please note the presenter or agency to which your question relates so we can route it correctly. There will also be an open question and answer session after all the agencies have given their presentations. Questions that are entered during the presentation will be answered at the end of the program. All right, I will now hand the microphone over to our first speaker. Rebecca Hess from Housing and Community Renewal is here today to discuss weatherization programs. Rebecca, please start us off.
Good afternoon. Thank you for including us in the presentation today. My name is Rebecca Hess. I'm the Field Operations Manager for the Weatherization Assistance Program at New York State Homes and Community Renewal. I'm going to be speaking about the Weatherization Assistance Program. Okay, you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so some basics on the weatherization program. The intent of the weatherization program is to increase energy efficiency in housing occupied by low-income persons. All types of residential housing can be assisted by the weatherization program. This includes multifamily housing, single-family, owner-occupied, mobile homes, etc. There's a strong quality assurance component. There is a strong emphasis on health and safety. The weatherization program receives funding through the United States Department of Energy and Health and Human Services through the LIHEAP funding. Income eligibility follows the HEAP income guidelines, which is 60% of the state median income. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, our weatherization funding. So New York State Homes and Community Renewal, or HCR, receives an annual allocation. The annual funding is provided by the U.S. Department of Energy, which is the weatherization funding, and the U.S. Health and Human Services, which is the LIHEAP funding. So our regular funding for 2022 to 2024 was about $77.5 million. With this funding, we will be serving about 7,000 units. The weatherization program also received additional funding through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, or bill. New York State received about $289 million. And with this funding, we are projecting that about 18,000 units will be weatherized. The weatherization program has an average cost per unit of about $8,000. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, our program structure. So services are delivered by our nonprofit partners. We refer to our nonprofit partners as our subgrantees. Households with incomes at or below 60% of the state median income are eligible for assistance. Assisted households are HEAP eligible clients. Priority is given to seniors, persons with disabilities, and families with children. Eligibility and qualification rules for multifamily buildings, at least 66% of the residents must be low income. And for multifamily buildings, there is a component of owner participation. So owners are generally asked to provide an owner investment of about 25% of the cost of the weatherization work scope. And there are also tenant protections built into the program when multifamily buildings are weatherized. Details on the process and timing are included in our policy and procedure manual, or our PPM. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, typical weatherization measures. Prior to any work beginning, an energy audit is conducted. The investment into a building is determined by this energy audit. Each energy measure that is installed must be cost effective. Some typical measures that may be included in a weatherization work scope include addressing the heating system, air sealing, insulation. This would be attic and sidewall insulation, electric baseboard reduction. So this could include more efficient lighting. Health and safety work. This can include things such as the installation of carbon monoxide detectors and smoke alarms, and incidental repairs. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, standards and protocols. There are standards and protocols that guide the weatherization program. We have our policy and procedure manual, or our PPM, which is our document that outlines the policies and procedures involved with the delivery of the weatherization program. There are standard work specifications that guide how the work is to be actually done. And we have the weatherization field guide, which also provides information on the standards that weatherization work should meet. And quality control inspections. A quality control inspection is done on every completed building to ensure the quality of work and to ensure the work meets our required standards. We also have other state and federal requirements. We follow procurement requirements such as formal bidding. Where applicable, buildings would also go through the historic review process through the State Historic Preservation Office, or SHPO. There is also utilization of minority and women-owned businesses, or MWBEs. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, renewables and other innovative measures. So the program received some additional funding recently. We received $34 million through the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA. Our ARPA program focused on enhanced measures that furthered the goals of the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, or the CLCPA. There was an additional emphasis on health and safety measures, and through this program, we completed 1,406 units. We also have another renewable program as well right now, which is the Sustainable Energy Resources for Consumers, or SERC. This funding, there's about $1.4 million of SERC funding. This funding will provide solar thermal domestic hot water and heat pumps to approximately 150 units. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, maintaining the whole house approach. So weatherization works because it addresses the whole building. Weatherization also facilitates coordination with other programs. Energy savings are maximized. The program also identifies health and safety and structural concerns. And again, weatherization can leverage other funding sources. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, healthy homes and weatherization. So subgrantees must defer work where extensive hazards exist that cannot be addressed with weatherization funds, such as significant structural issues. Trained weatherization staff work lead safe to minimize risks during the installation of energy efficiency measures. Trained weatherization staff also identify and, where possible, correct mold and moisture and other ASBA triggers. Indoor air quality issues such as carbon monoxide are also addressed, and indoor air quality testing is done before, during, and after the work. Okay, next slide, please. There are also non-energy benefits that are related to the weatherization program. So weatherization provides substantial non-energy benefits, and for every $1 of weatherization funds invested, the return is $2.51. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, increased accountability and quality work. Our policy and procedure manual is updated regularly to incorporate new regulations, policies, and guidance. There are initiatives that ensure the quality of the program. There are quality work plans, and our weatherization work meets published standard work specifications. Those working on the program must also complete ongoing training and maintain certification. There is oversight and monitoring of the program on an ongoing basis. There is also an annual evaluation process, and we also have ongoing regular compliance monitoring of the program. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is our contact information, and you can contact us here. This is the weatherization specific email address and the general phone number. You can also contact me directly, and my information is listed here as well. Okay, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you all today. I am now going to turn it back over to Alex.
All right, thank you, Rebecca. So Rebecca has to leave us early today. So if you have any questions about HCR's weatherization program, we'll take them now. So I'm just going to give a quick couple minutes. Again, if you have questions about the HCR weatherization program, please pose them now. You can write them into the chat function or raise your hand.
Rebecca, we do have a question that was in the chat.
Okay, let's see, weatherization, what is incidental repairs? So incidental repairs are minor repairs that are needed to be done in order to install an energy related measure. So it could be like a minor repair to a window, or it could be a minor repair. You see the question here mentions trailer repairs of skirting for heating. If it's a minor repair, that could be possible. Like they'd have to, each subgrantee, when they do their assessment of the home, would make that determination of whether that would be an eligible measure and whether it would be like fall under the realm of a minor incidental repair. So what is the 60% guideline for Orleans County in New York? Let's see. It's based on household size. So just in general, for a household of one, the monthly income limit is $3,035. The annual income limit is $36,420. And then it goes up from there. So a household size of two, a monthly income, you would have to make no more than $3,970, or the annual income would be $47,640. This information is also posted to our website as well, if you're looking for a specific household size. Let's see. The next question would be, who would be available in Orleans County? The subgrantee that assists Orleans County is the Community Action of Genesee and Orleans County. So they service both Genesee and Orleans counties. We do have the contact information on our website as well. They would be the subgrantee you would reach out to and apply directly to for the services. Let's see, and what else do weatherization do for seniors and trailers? Weatherization can assist trailers. So typical work scopes could involve very similar to what was in the slide. So they can look at your heating system, see if it could be repaired or replaced for efficiency. They can look at windows. They can do air sealing and other health and safety measures as well. Ventilation, they would look at your ventilation and look at possibly, installing carbon monoxide and smoke alarms. So it really depends on the on your current home, and the energy audit that they would do would really help guide the work scope that they would develop. Let's see, I see another question here too. Can vacant apartments be eligible for weatherization if the landlord is a low-income owner? It could be possible. It all depends on the number of units in the building. And there are a few caveats there too, where, a vacant unit could be eligible if it's going to be filled by an income eligible tenant within like 180 days after the weatherization work is completed. So if there are plans to fill the unit with an eligible person, then we could possibly look at that as well. So, and again, like it really depends on the number of units, and you know, each situation is slightly different, but it could be qualified for the weatherization program in certain instances.
All right, any more questions for Rebecca? You can either press the little hand button on the bottom of your screen, or if you're connected by phone, press *3 or enter them into the chat. All right, last call for questions for Rebecca. All right, it looks like there are no more questions. So thank you, Rebecca. That was very informative.
Hey, thank you so much. And again, if there are questions that have come up afterwards, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is in this presentation. So thank you so much.
All right, next we have Amy Liang from the New York Power Authority to discuss environmental justice, energy education, and weatherization workshops. Amy, please begin.
Great. Thank you so much, Alex, and thank you to DPS for having us on this call today. Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Liang. I am a program coordinator within the Environmental Justice Department at the New York Power Authority. Next slide, please. So NYPA is the largest state public power utility in the nation. We operate 16 generating facilities, and more than 80% of that electricity is actually from clean, renewable hydropower. Our mission really is to lead New York's economic development through our projects across the state. Next slide, please. Our environmental justice programs are driven by our commitment to be a good neighbor to the historically disadvantaged communities that are located near our facilities. So within EJ, we operate under 4 main pillars. We have STEM education, adult energy literacy, outreach and advocacy, as well as energy efficiency projects. Next slide, please. Within our adult energy literacy program, we offer energy education and weatherization workshops to groups located near our EJ facilities. Next slide, please. So just an overview of these workshops. They aim to teach easy, low to no cost ways for participants to conserve energy at home while lowering their utility bills and improving comfort as well. These workshops are about an hour to an hour and a half long. They feature interactive hands-on learning. There are demonstrations. We try to get the audience engaged and participate as well. We bring door props, window props, and we really go over ways for the participant to learn how to apply the door sweeps, window kits, all different things around our homes. We provide food as well. And at the end of the workshop, participants will receive a free weatherization kit, as well as a step-by-step installation manual. Next slide, please. So within these weatherization kits, they include all the things that you see on the screen here. So lots of really helpful tools for you to do it yourself at home. So things like caulking, door sweeps, hot water gauge, window kit, refrigerator thermometer, what have you. And we'll also make sure to go over how to apply and use all the tools that we provide as well. Next slide, please. So these workshops really aim to support the community as a whole. We understand that there is a high energy burden that oftentimes our low or middle income families face. So the workshop really is to be an educational resource. We show participants simple and renter-friendly demonstrations that don't require any power tools. So nothing that would require permanent damage or any permanent changes to your apartment or home. And of course, these are free of cost for an organization to host us and for the participants to participate in. Next slide, please. And these are the 4 to 5 main topics that we'll cover during these workshops. So we save a chunk of that time for heating and cooling, and that will include hands-on activities, such as like the window film, door sweeps, weather stripping, like I was saying. And then we'll move on to water conservation tips, energy efficient appliances, lighting, and then we'll talk about resources. And that's a huge one, especially as we go regionally. There are lots of great regional resources, as well as everyone else on this call here. So we really try to get the audience to tap into their local resources. Next slide, please. And here are the main goals that we try to achieve with these workshops. So we try to create a conversation at these workshops. A lot of times people come to us with their personal questions and energy concerns at home. So we'll try to help them identify, what the biggest energy consumers are at home, answer their questions, and help them identify actions that they can take and develop an action plan. Next slide, please. So here's a list of the stakeholders that we've worked with. Of course, we're happy to work with groups that are not on this list, and we'll work with you to address any barriers to your participants. So we can provide teaching materials in almost every language that is needed by your participants. We do have a Spanish educator on staff that can host the workshops in Spanish. And then for other languages, we'll just work with the organization to maybe have a translator present or something like that. Next slide, please. And so here's how you can partner with us. All you have to do is reach out to us and we'll coordinate the date, time, and location. We have flyers, we have one-pagers, all the information that you can kind of share out to your participants. I do want to note that NYPA does not have any residential customers. So what we do is slightly different than some of the other organizations here. We partner with local NGOs, community groups, groups of any kind, organizations, to host these workshops. So if there is a group that you're a part of and you would love to have us bring these workshops to you, all you have to do is reach out and we'll work with you and make sure that the organization falls within our internal metrics of our catchment area. Awesome. Next slide, please. Yep, and this is our contact information. Feel free to reach out to our emails here, and I know that DPS will follow up with either you already have a copy or you'll be receiving a copy of this presentation. Awesome, thank you so much for having us, and let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Amy. Next up, we have Eric Gilbert from NYSERDA to discuss the Empower Plus program. Eric will be followed by his NYSERDA colleague, Lori Clark, who will discuss the agency's regional clean energy hubs. Eric and Lori, please begin.
Great, thanks, Alex. Can we go to the next slide, please? And one more. There we go. Yeah, good afternoon. NYSERDA is pleased to be present as part of this winter assistance workshop. Again, my name is Eric Gilbert. I am a project manager with NYSERDA's single family residential team. And today I'll be providing you with an overview of NYSERDA's 1 to 4 family low to moderate income program, Empower Plus. Up first, some program background on Empower Plus. We launched Empower Plus in July of last year, and the program provides low and moderate income households across the state with access to free home energy assessments, no cost direct install measures, and incentive dollars for energy efficiency upgrades. Our current focus with Empower Plus is to make sure homes have sufficient insulation levels to ease the burden when transitioning from fossil fuel heating systems to heat pump equipment. For those of you historically familiar with NYSERDA's residential programs, Empower Plus is the result of a years-long effort to integrate assisted home performance and Empower New York into one program offering. For over a decade, Assisted Home Performance and Empower were run as separate programs, and slowly over time, we've worked to unify the different program components into one cohesive offering, serving both low and moderate income homes. Currently, Empower Plus has a network of around 200 participating contractors, and we complete about 18,000 projects annually. Next slide, please. There we go. So what are the income eligible households eligible for through Empower Plus? Both low and moderate income households can receive a no-cost home energy assessment. The home energy assessment looks at the major systems of the home and identifies opportunities for energy efficiency improvements. As part of the assessment, contractors can also install no-cost direct install measures, which include things like lighting, weather stripping, and thermostats. Following the assessment, Empower Plus provides incentives towards building shell improvements like air sealing and insulation, replacement of inefficient refrigerators and freezers, and repair or replacement of heating and hot water systems. If replacement is warranted, the prioritization is on the utilization of heat pump technology. Also, an added benefit through Empower Plus is the household's ability to request a quality assurance inspection for up to 1 year following the completion of the work. Typically, we inspect around 15% of all project completions each year, and this is through the combination of customer-requested quality assurance inspections and the random selection of completed projects by the program for inspection. Next slide, please. All right, so who is eligible for Empower Plus? The program is open to both owners and renters of 1 to 4 family existing homes. If a renter applies, they will be limited to non-comprehensive efficiency measures unless they have permission from the building owner or landlord. Empower Plus can serve buildings over 4 units through special projects. Special projects are for the smaller garden-style apartments and townhouse complexes of 5+ units that are constructed and more or less act like a 1 to 4 family home. For income requirements, Empower Plus serves low-income households earning less than 60% of the state median income. This is in line with the other efficiency programs like HEAP and the Weatherization Assistance Program. Moderate income households, which earn between 60 and 80% of the state median income, or whichever is higher. Through Empower Plus, households have access to incentives which have a set cap within a 3-year look-back period. So for example, a low-income single-family home is eligible for up to $10,000 in incentive dollars. If a customer had a project completed 2 years ago and only $6,000 of that $10,000 was used, they can come back within that 3-year period and have additional work completed until the remaining $4,000 is expended. And then after 3 years, the clock starts all over again. Next slide, please. Okay, so through Empower Plus, there are currently 2 incentive levels, and they are based upon the household income. For low-income households, the program is covering 100% of the project cost up to the program caps. Given that NYSERDA is covering the project costs, the program does have set pricing for most measures with an upstate and downstate pricing structure. For single-family homes, the incentive cap is $10,000, and certain funding sources allow for a cap up to $20,000 if heat pump equipment is being installed or the home will be made heat pump ready. For 2 to 4 family homes, the project is eligible for the initial $10,000, and from there, each income eligible unit is eligible for an additional $5,000. So for 2 to 4 family homes, if 50% or more of the units are income eligible, then the entire project is considered income eligible. So for example, for a 4-unit home, if the first 2 units were determined to be income eligible, then we can consider all 4 units as income eligible. We do need to collect applications from each unit, but the income documentation would only be required for the first 2 units. Next slide, please. Okay, for moderate income households, the program provides a 50% cost share towards eligible energy efficiency measures. Unlike the low income households, there is not set pricing for energy efficiency measures. The participating contractor will work with the household to determine work scope and pricing, with the program ultimately approving the work scope. For a single family household, the moderate income incentive is capped at $5,000. And for 2 to 4 family homes, the project is eligible for the initial $5,000. Then each additional income eligible unit is eligible for an additional $2,500. And just like on the low income side, if half the units are determined to be income eligible, then the whole project can be considered income eligible. Moderate income households can also help offset the balance of the work scope cost with a low interest NYSERDA loan. Currently, interest rates range from 3.49 to 3.99%. Next slide, please. Okay, I will now briefly walk you through the project experience. As indicated earlier, the intake mechanism for both low and moderate income households is through the completion of an Empower Plus application. Households can reach out to their regional clean energy hub, who can assist with this process if need be. We will be providing additional information on the regional clean energy hubs following my portion of the presentation. Once a household is approved for services, a program contractor will reach out to schedule the energy assessment. Again, this energy assessment is free of charge and will identify opportunities for improvements with efficiency, and will educate the customer on how their home uses energy. As part of the audit, contractors have the opportunity to install direct install measures, such as replacing inefficient lighting with LEDs, swapping out furnace filters, and for low-income households, identifying inefficient refrigerators and freezers for replacement. Following the assessment, the contractor can propose a work scope to NYSERDA for consideration. Next slide, please. So once a work scope has been submitted, NYSERDA's program implementer, ClearResult, will review the project, and if the project meets program requirements, an approval will be issued typically within 2 business days. The contractor will be notified of the project approval, allowing them to move forward with the scheduling and installing the work. Once the energy efficiency measures have been installed, the household will sign a certificate of completion, and the contractor will submit the project completion paperwork to the program for review, approval, and payment. As mentioned earlier, following the project payment, the household can request a quality assurance inspection for up to 1 year following the completion of the work. Otherwise, the program will randomly select around 15% of project completions for quality assurance inspection. Next slide, please. Okay, so yeah, here we've just included some common links to the Empower Plus website, income eligibility guidelines, the application, and the program manual. I'll now turn it over to Lori Clark, who can provide us with some additional information on the regional clean energy hubs.
Thanks, Eric. It's a pleasure to be here today. I noticed that some of the hub team members are attending this webinar, so thank you. Achievement of the energy, environmental, and climate justice objectives of the Climate Act will require all communities to be actively engaged in the clean energy transition, including residents and communities that have traditionally faced barriers to participating in or otherwise benefited from New York's emerging clean energy economy. To help New Yorkers access and navigate these opportunities, NYSERDA created the Regional Clean Energy Hubs. Next slide, please. Funding for this effort is up to $52 million over a 4-year period, with the potential to include additional funding to address community opportunities and needs. The Hub Initiative was a co-design effort between approximately 33 community-based organizations and NYSERDA. The co-design allows for regional flexibility. The Hub co-design concept is ongoing and iterative through the 4-year term, with an expectation for much longer. The Hub's shared goal is to learn and improve together over time to support the growth of successful hubs across the state, which requires a mindset of creativity, candor, and persistence, as well as shared responsibility for the implementation of collaboratively designed solutions. The program launched in September of 2022. Next slide. The hubs are a team of trusted, knowledgeable, community-based organizations in and from the region they serve. The hubs have experience with clean energy, energy efficiency, workforce and economic development, education, health, and housing. Hubs help provide information to individuals, small businesses, and affordable housing owners about the benefits of the clean energy economy, ways to reduce energy use and costs, and how to make more informed energy decisions. One hub is in each of the 10 economic development regions across the state, with New York City having 3 hubs due to population density. Next slide, please. Hubs will primarily focus on providing resources and assisting disadvantaged communities, affordable housing owners, small businesses in disadvantaged communities, low to moderate income and market rate customers to clean energy programs and resources mentioned on this webinar today. Next slide, please. Hubs will connect community members to clean energy and related programs and resources through outreach efforts such as tabling and presenting. They will advance solutions to address local barriers in accessing clean energy programs and otherwise engaging in the clean energy economy by proposing community campaigns. They will improve energy literacy among residents by hosting energy education workshops. Hubs will partner with organizations within the region from across the clean energy, social services, housing, economic development, health, academic sectors to provide a holistic, multidisciplinary approach to meeting the energy and climate justice needs of disadvantaged communities. Next slide. Hubs will help customers fill out an application for a free home energy assessment or financing, create other sources of funding when an energy efficiency project may be deferred for health and safety issues. They will conduct stakeholder engagement and elevate the needs and priorities of disadvantaged communities in the development of NYSERDA and other clean energy initiatives. They will advance diversity in the clean energy workforce by connecting residents and small businesses with resources and training opportunities that can lead to jobs. They will advance solutions to address local barriers in accessing clean energy programs through local project support pilots. Next slide, please. There's 2 main contacts for the regional hubs. It's Jess Ortiz and myself. Jess manages the 3 New York City, Long Island, and Western New York hub, and I manage the Capital Region, Central, Finger Lakes, Mid-Hudson, Mohawk Valley, North Country, and Southern Tier, and our contact information is on the screen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric and Lori. We've now reached the halfway point of our webinar, and I have 2 quick reminders. First, we will be taking questions after all the presentations. If you have a question during a presentation, you can always type your question into the webinar Q&A feature. We will capture the question and the presenter will address it after the last presentation. Please remember to tag the agency or presenter that you would like to address your question. Second, today's webinar is being recorded. The recording and copies of the slides will be made available after the workshop, and we'll explain to you how to get them. All right, let's keep moving along with Rose Golden from the New York State Office for the Aging to discuss services available for older New Yorkers and their caregivers. Rose, please begin.
Good afternoon. I'm so pleased to be here today and talk to everybody about the services that the New York State Office for Aging provides to older adults. In all of your interactions through all of the programs presented today, it will be likely that you will meet older adults who need more than help and assistance with heating and weatherization, and that's where we can jump in. Next slide, please. So the goal of the New York State Office for Aging, or our mission, is to help older adults live in the community for as long as possible with dignity and be able to be independent and be able to make the decisions they want to make. We do that through promoting programs and services for older adults, caregivers, and persons with disabilities. The way that NYSERDA does that is we have a network of 59 county-based area agencies on aging, and they are connected with about 1,200 community aging network providers, and that makes up our aging network. So everybody on the call, every county in New York State does have an office for aging to whom you can reach out for regarding anything that you hear today. We have about 20 core services, and you see we have a link here to them, and I will talk about some of them later. Of our 59 county agencies, almost all of them are counties, our area agency on aging. 2 of them are Indian nations, and 4 of them are not-for-profit organizations. Next slide, please. So we take every opportunity we get on any presentation to look at the social, economic, and intellectual contributions of older New Yorkers. We really work to combat ageism, which looks as older adults as somebody who becomes a burden on communities. So I just want to share with you some statistics, and then we'll talk about our services. So as you can see up there, there are 4.6 million New Yorkers who are age 60 or plus, so we rank 4th in the nation. 935,000 individuals 16 plus contribute 495 million hours of community service and economic value. At an economic value of $13.8 billion. So older adults are very impactful in their communities. 64% of individuals over 60 own their own homes and have no mortgages. So they are contributing to the local tax base. They're purchasing services and purchasing goods in their communities. The next statistic is extremely important, and I think many of you can relate to it on the call. There are 4.1 million caregivers age 64 or older, excuse me, who provide unpaid care for a loved one, a total of a market value of $32 billion. We know without the caregivers in New York State that the healthcare system would most probably collapse. Individuals age 50 plus, they account for most of the volunteering, philanthropy, I'm having trouble with that word, and entrepreneurs and donation activities in the U.S. So I think we can go to the next slide, but you can see we set the tone that older New Yorkers are very important core of our communities. So we partner with other agencies and groups that serve older adults. We use the aging network that I described to you. There are 59 AAAs and there are 1,200 contractors. We work with community partners, and just like on this call, we work with statewide partners. We are a very active part of the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, as many state agencies are, but providing services to older adults are often, we see that they are very vulnerable in emergency situations, which are often weather situations. Next slide, please. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about emergency preparedness and response. So all of the services that are provided from the organizations on the call today are critical. What we find and what we dealt with yesterday and actually are looking at this weekend is that we also have to have older adults be prepared should an emergency hit. And for example, yesterday the power lines came down. So they were struggling without heat. So what we did is we partnered with the Homeland Security and also worked together so that we could provide a Citizens Preparedness Corps training. And I would recommend that if any of you can have this happen in your community, it was phenomenal. And the trainings were specifically for older adults and their needs during emergency. This provided residents with tools and resources to prepare for any type of disaster and how to respond to those. I did go to the training, and it really is powerful. They're led by the National Guard, who working with the experts from the Department of Homeland Security and the Management Services. So this is a wonderful program. Everybody leaves with a big backpack of all different supplies you could use through a disaster. So just really putting on people's radar to be mindful that as we have services in, we also are working to educate older adults on how to handle and how to respond to an emergency so that they are safe. Next slide, please. So I talked about the services we provide, and I want to offer that whenever we're providing services, we speak about the different services that have been presented on this call to hook people up with weatherization supports. But these are, so while we're administering these programs, we are also sharing information. And I would want to offer the reverse. I think it would be highly unlikely that when you're out and you're meeting with people or you're doing an assessment of a home for energy efficiency, you will ultimately end up with a conversation where someone might need something more. And so I want you to think that you can call your local office for aging or encourage someone else to. We provide home delivered meals. Congregate meals is where people eat in a group setting. Since the pandemic, we have created a new meal program called Grab and Go, where someone can drive up, grab their meal, and maybe a friend and them want to go to the park to eat their meal there. We have senior center programming, and as you saw in other presentations, there are partnerships at the senior centers with the other programs. We do health promotion and wellness trainings like Tai Chi. We have evidence-based interventions, which actually Tai Chi is one of those. We do one on fall prevention, because that's another very typical and very concerning event for an older adult. We offer volunteer opportunities. You can see, without me going through the whole list, it's hard not to. We offer respite for caregivers, legal services, home modifications and repairs. We have a whole bunch of services, and at the end of the day, what we do is we use these services to help older adults stay in the community, stay in their homes for as long as possible. Next slide, please. I think I spoke about this a little earlier about our 59 county-based area agencies on aging. We have 777 senior centers. There's about 800 congregate meal sites in New York State. 315 central kitchens provide the meals both at the home delivered program, the grab and go, and the congregate meal. We have over 2,000 home delivered meal routes, so we are providing meals to people who are in the most vulnerable situations. And that's the time where we often see too that they could use potentially the services that were also described here on the presentations and other presentations. And we do have the highest level of evidence-based interventions, and these are interventions that research has proven cause improvement in behavior or health due to participation. So next slide, please. What is our strength? How can we help pass the word on what all of us are doing here today? How can we be stewards of all the different services? We are a trusted established network, and older adults are used to working with their offices for aging. We've been doing this for about 40 years, and we have very community strong based relationships because our services are all provided in the community. We have a lot of experience with hospital transitions because I'm sure all of you have experienced with a loved one a potential discharge, but there's nothing at home or nobody at home who can support the person coming home, let's say after surgery. So we come in with Meals on Wheels, sometimes aid service, transportation to doctor's appointments. So that's kind of how we link there. We have a holistic approach. We're client-centered. We also have a single point of entry for anybody who has a question about a service for an older adult, and that is our New York Connects number, which every county in New York State has a New York Connects program through which people call and can be directed to the services they need. Our services are, we do allow people to have a chance to provide a contribution if they want, but there is no cost for the services. Next slide. Okay, so here are some links of where you could go if you need assistance. I mentioned that every county has an area agency on aging. That's what AAA is. And then you see the link there, so you could look up your county. We have a fantastic program, which I think is a diamond in the rough. It's Health Insurance Information Counseling Assistance Program. Many people are, myself included, kind of challenged to figure out what's the best health insurance plan, what's the best plan once I go on Medicare, what's a good wraparound plan. And we have a program that has trained volunteers and professionals who help sort all that out for people. We don't sell insurance, so we're a non-biased eyes on that program. And then the long-term care ombudsman program, this is the one connection we do have with nursing home setting, and that's where we have a team throughout the state. We have providers who are ombudsmen in nursing homes. And if you ever need to, you can call the ombudsman at that number. Next slide, please. And earlier I talked about New York Connects, and this is our one-stop for information about all long-term care services. And when we talk about long-term care services, we are talking community-based, and you can call in. They'll connect you with the program that they think is appropriate for your needs based on a short conversation or screen. And so up here on the screen, that's a very important number, and I encourage anybody who is looking for any kind of service or information on services in New York State to reach out to that number. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to turn it back to you, Alex. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to present.
Thank you, Rose. I will now turn it over to my Department of Public Service colleagues. First up is Timothy Marsh to discuss the Energy Affordability Program. After Tim, Xenia Vega will discuss the agency's Consumer Outreach Program. Tim and Xenia, please begin.
Thanks, Alex. Good afternoon. My name is Timothy Marsh with the Department of Public Service, and I'll be discussing the Utility Energy Affordability Programs. First, I'll do a brief description of the Public Service Commission. The Public Service Commission regulates the state's electric, gas, steam, telecommunications, and water utilities and oversees the cable industry. Part of the Commission's mission is to ensure safe, secure, and reliable service at just and reasonable rates. Next slide, please. In 2016, the Public Service Commission, PSC, established a statewide low-income bill discount program for major electric and gas investor-owned utilities. These discounts help customers move towards a 6% energy burden. All customers are automatically enrolled when participating in the Home Energy Assistance Program. However, there are other programs that will also enroll a customer in the Energy Assistance Program. There's also a reconnection fee waiver component. Next slide. When customers are enrolled in the Affordability Program, they are automatically enrolled in the utility's budget billing plan, but a customer may opt out by contacting their utility. In August of 2021, the Commission issued an order that made program improvements. The modified discount calculation better reflects actual customer data. Eligibility for the programs was expanded to create a uniform process and application to allow a customer to self-certify for program enrollment. Next slide. As we discussed earlier, enrollment in the EAP occurs when customers are enrolled in various public assistance programs. For example, you can see National Grid includes this list of qualifying programs. Next slide. If utility customers are not automatically enrolled in the EAP and are receiving benefits from a qualified program, contact the utility by phone, email, or other service, such as a chat function. All utilities have outreach and education programs, which include various methods of dispensing low-income program information to customers. Yeah, that slide's fine. And each major utility's website have information relating to low-income assistance programs. And as a reminder, participants will be sent these slides for reference. Next slide. All right. Let's see. In May of 2023, the Department of Public Service, in consultation with the EAP working group, we're tasked with distributing $200 million in appropriations to utility customers. The goal of this program is to address the costs of utility affordability programs and provide prompt assistance to utility customers. Staff from DPS and stakeholders in the working group are currently discussing methodology to distribute the appropriation to the utilities. Next slide. Included as part of the New York State budget appropriation is an expanded discount program and an EAP guarantee pilot. The expanded discount program is designed to provide moderate income customers with bill relief. These customers are just above the criteria for EAP participation. The EAP working group has ongoing meetings to discuss the criteria and procedures required to implement the expanded discount program. The EAP guarantee pilot is designed to provide an energy affordability guarantee for utility customers in the Empower Plus program. The EAP guarantee subgroup discusses the considerations necessary to design and implement the EAP guarantee pilot to increase access to heat pump solutions for low-income customers, while providing necessary supports to ensure household energy burdens do not exceed 6%. The outcome from this pilot are expected to inform the development of a broader strategy for electrifying low to moderate income homes from across New York State. I'll now pass the mic to Xenia.
Thank you very much, Tim. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you again for joining us today. My name is Xenia Vega, and I'm a member of the Outreach and Education team at the Department of Public Service, Long Island. I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce or reintroduce our Department of Public Service Long Island office. The office was established in the LIPA Reform Act and is mainly responsible for the oversight of the electric service provided by PSE&G Long Island. In addition, the Long Island office investigates complaints on behalf of all Long Island ratepayers, including electric, gas, water, and cable. We enforce statewide consumer protections under the Home Energy Fair Practice Act, also known as HEFPA, and we also have the outreach team, which we conduct consumer presentations and exhibits at community events. Okay. Now I'm going to speak about the department's winter outreach and education campaign. We use a variety of tools to reach utility consumers, including exhibits and presentations. We partnership with service organizations and local governments and perform such social media channels at the department and the department website. As mentioned previously, the purpose of this workshop is to provide a one-stop shopping forum for information, materials, and resources that can help you and your constituents during the winter season. At our department website, we have a dedicated page for winter preparedness, which can be reached by using the short URL listed on the slide. The page has a lot of other information you heard during the workshop, including ways to manage winter bills, financial assistance programs, consumer protections, and energy efficiency tips. The page has links to New York State and utility assistance programs, as well as copies of the department's consumer protections in multiple languages. The publications materials can be downloaded and printed, or hard copies can be ordered from our webpage. The department staff distributes consumer information through our grassroots outreach program, including exhibits at public events such as senior expos, health fairs, and home shows. We also work with our partner New York State agencies to host winter preparedness one-stop shopping events. Today's virtual workshop is the start of our winter efforts, which will continue throughout the coming months. Today's workshops, and as well as the ones held last November, targeted elected officials and consumer groups so you can share the program information with your constituents. To reach consumers with hands-on assistance about available resources, this multi-agency partnership will be taking our one-stop shopping event on the road to share winter preparedness information with New Yorkers in person. These energy fairs will allow consumers an opportunity to discuss available programs, how they qualify, and how they may enroll. 3 events were held in December, and 3 additional locations have been added for January and February timeline. Lastly, DPS outreach is available for presentations about our agency and winter management information. If you have meetings or events that your organization or community would like us to exhibit at or give a presentation, please contact us at consumer.outreach@dps.ny.gov. Thank you for your time, and I'll return the mic over to Alex.
Thank you, Timothy and Azenia. Our last speaker today is from the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance. Beth Natali will discuss the Home Energy Assistance Program, or HEAP. Beth, please begin.
Thank you, Alex. Hi, everybody. My name is Beth Natali. I'm a supervisor in the Home Energy Assistance Program Bureau here at the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance. And today I'm going to be providing you with an overview of the Home Energy Assistance Program. Next slide, please. The Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, also known as LIHEAP, is the federal program that funds HEAP in New York State. LIHEAP is funded at the federal level through a block grant, and then each state receives a share of this funding and operates their own energy program. And New York State is the largest grant recipient of LIHEAP funding. We receive about 10% of funding each federal fiscal year. LIHEAP funding for federal fiscal year 2024 is $3.7 billion nationwide. At this point, about 90% of these funds have been released to the states. So currently, New York State HEAP is funded at about $360 million. Next slide, please. So with that funding, we're able to offer the 5 HEAP benefits that are listed on your screen. As most of you know, by this point, the regular component opened on November 1st, and our emergency component just opened on January 2nd. These benefits are scheduled to operate through March 15th. Sometimes that date is modified. If it does, it'll be posted on our website. And currently our heating equipment repair and replacement, also known as HAIR or HER, however you pronounce that, and clean and tune benefits are offered year round. And we do have our cooling benefit. It's scheduled to open on April 15th this year, which is a couple weeks earlier than we normally do it. Next slide, please. So to qualify for HEAP, households need to have income at or below the maximum allowable limits for their household size. And New York State elects to set income guidelines at the maximum allowable levels under the federal statute. And these income guidelines have slightly increased from last program year, which was the 22-23 program year. Next slide, please. The regular HEAP benefit is the benefit that most eligible households receive. This benefit assists eligible households with the cost of their primary heating equipment, primary heat rather. The base heater benefit amounts for 23-24 are slightly lower than last year. They were higher last year because we did receive supplemental LIHEAP funding. We did not receive that this year. So in order to serve the most households, we lowered the benefits slightly. And regular base benefits are as follows. So it's $900 for households who heat with oil, kerosene, or propane. It's $635 for wood, coal, or other deliverables, and then $400 for natural gas or electric. And then just a little bit more on those benefits. The households can be eligible for add-ons based on their household circumstances. And households with income in Tier 1 can receive an additional $41. And then households with a vulnerable member receive an additional $35. And that vulnerable member is defined by HEAP as someone that's age 60 or older, and then, someone age 60 or older or under age 6. Also someone who is disabled. And households can receive either or both of those add-ons for a total of $76 on top of that base benefit amount. And all heater benefits are paid to the household's heating vendor. Regular benefits are also available to households that pay indirectly for heat in the form of rent. So that's a $50 benefit for households that fall into Tier 1 and $45 benefit for households that fall into Tier 2. We also have a heat and eat benefit that's paid to SNAP households in certain living arrangements, such as subsidized housing with heat included in their rent, and that benefit amount is $21. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned before, the emergency HEAP component just opened on January 2nd. There is two types of emergency benefits, utility and non-utility, and those amounts are on your screen. And as with the regular benefit, it's just a one-time benefit to eligible households. And as of this moment today and this time today, we're only planning one emergency benefit, but as you know, if that changes, everybody will be made aware. To meet eligibility requirements, applicants must meet basic eligibility and then some additional eligibility requirements specific to the emergency benefit, such as the regular benefit is not available or a credit is not available on their account. That would be sufficient to resolve their emergency. So they can't have that regular benefit available and then a credit enough to ameliorate that emergency. So applicants need to be facing a heat or heat-related crisis. So that means that electricity is necessary for the heating system or thermostat to work, and it's either shut off or scheduled to be shut off. Natural gas is shut off or scheduled to be shut off. Other instances, they're out of fuel or they have less than a quarter tank of fuel oil, kerosene or propane, and they have less than a 10-day supply of wood pellets, corn, or any of their other deliverable heat sources. Another eligibility requirement on top of the regular basic eligibility for emergency is that the applicant needs to be the customer of record. So that means that the applicant is the person who has the account in their name with the energy vendor. There are some exceptions to this rule. So if anybody has any questions, if your situation doesn't fit that definition exactly, we encourage you to call your local DSS office, explain their situation, and they can help you out. And the last eligibility criteria for emergency is that applicants and household members need to meet the resource limits. For the 23-24 program year, we did increase the resource limit for emergency. So it's currently $2,500 or $3,750 for households with an individual age 60 or older or under age 6. And we did add the addition of under age 6 this year. So that's new. Next slide, please. Okay, these are just some other heat benefits. The remaining ones are the heating equipment repair and replacement, or HAIR, and then heating equipment clean and tune and cooling. As I mentioned earlier, HAIR is available to homeowners with non-operational heating equipment that's in need of repair or replacement. As with emergency, there is a resource limit for this benefit. Clean and tunes are available once per program year to homeowners to have their primary heating equipment cleaned and tuned to keep it operating at peak efficiency. And we're not quite to cooling yet, but we do have the heat cooling assistance component, which provides an air conditioner or fan to households that contain someone with a medical condition that's made worse by heat. Next slide, please. Just some information about how to apply for HEAP. If someone would like to apply, you can do so in the county where you reside. Currently, applicants may apply for regular and emergency benefits, as well as HAIR and clean and tune, of course. The application requirements for each benefit does vary. Each individual circumstances is different for each person, so we encourage people to call their local social services district if they have any questions on eligibility. And the web address with contact information is on your screen. Applications for regular benefits are accepted online on My Benefits, and that website is www.mybenefits.ny.gov. And residents of New York City can apply for regular benefits online through Access HRA. So this is just one of our publications that we have for ordering. OTDA provides flyers, brochures, and posters to promote our HEAP benefits. These publications, as well as a list of other HEAP publications, are available for ordering through OTDA using the address on your screen. So if anybody would like to help us promote our program, we would love to provide you with some outreach materials to do so. And next slide, please. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I forgot to advance the slide before. So one more, please. Sorry about that. Thanks. Okay, so that's actually the conclusion of our presentation on HEAP. I'll put my name and email address in the chat, so please feel free to contact us if you have any questions. We do have a general information number. That's the 473-0332 that's listed on your screen. We also encourage people to use our New York State HEAP mailbox, which is newyorkstateheap@otda.ny.gov. And then we have our website listed, otda.ny.gov/program/HEAP. And you can find a lot of information about our program on there. And then lastly, we have the link to my benefits listed for anybody that would like to apply. And I'll put my contact number and my contact email address rather in the chat for anybody. And thank you so much to DPS for hosting us today. Thank you. I'm going to hand it back to Alex.
Thank you, Beth. All right, that concludes the presentation portion of today's workshop. As a reminder, the recording of today's workshop will be available on the Department of Public Service website and YouTube channel in a few days. We will now move on to the question and answer section of today's program. We will start by addressing the questions you submitted during the workshop. I think there was just one submitted to the Q&A during the workshop, and then we will open up the floor to additional questions. All right, so I see one question in the Q&A chat function. I think it was directed to Rose at the State Office for the Aging. The question was, can you talk more about the long-term care ombudsman service, please? What is an example of an issue where this service can be useful? Rose, can you offer a response there?
Absolutely. I really appreciate the question. It's a good one and an important program. So the Ombudsman program is a program where some of the examples where someone might use or call an ombudsman to help them is if there's a violation of residents' rights or dignity. Let's say there's physical, verbal, or mental abuse, deprivation of services necessary to maintain the resident physical and mental health, or unreasonable confinement. For example, I had a family call me last week. I didn't know what to do because their brother was in the nursing home, did not, when they came to visit, appeared to not have been cleaned or changed in a while. They were concerned about when medicine was being given. So we referred them to the Ombudsman program. The Ombudsman actually goes to the nursing home with you and mediates and tries to work with the nursing home to resolve any concerns. And it's really a mediation and a conversation because you need to work through both sides. Improper transfer or discharge of a patient, if the family feels that a patient was discharged out of the nursing home and it was not necessary, or we often see too if somebody is in the hospital and discharged early back to the nursing home, and the home they feel is not able to handle the needs of the patient, they might call an ombudsman. If anybody felt that there was an inappropriate use of, let's say, chemical or medicine or physical restraints, they would call an ombudsman who would go into the home, take a look at that, and work with the family. Really, any resident concerned about quality of care or quality of life. New York State Office for Aging does not oversee these homes. I think that's the Department of Health, but we are, as part of the Older Americans Act, we do have the entity, the Ombudsman Program, or the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program, where people can find these trained individuals, many of whom are volunteers, but I'll go through a training program, who will assist with these situations. Does that answer the question? Does that give you, I'm happy to.
Sure, I think it was a good answer, Rose. Thank you. All right, so now we have an opportunity for additional questions. You can ask your question in a few ways. So first, you can raise your hand using the little hand icon on the bottom of the screen if you're logged into the WebEx webinar. If you're just on the phone, you can press *3 on your phone to electronically raise your hand, and we'll see that you raised your hand. Once you raise your hand, we can unmute you and you can pose your question directly to the presenter. Again, it's helpful if you let us know who or what program you're talking about, and we can connect you with the right person. You can also enter your question into the chat function. All right, again, press the little hand icon on the bottom of your screen, press *3 on your phone, or enter your question directly into the chat function. We have about 10 minutes for questions. Once again, if you'd like to ask a question, please press the raise hand function on the bottom of the WebEx, press *3 on your phone, or enter your question into the WebEx Q&A function. All right, I'll do one more call for questions. Again, press the raise hand button on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Enter your question into the Q&A box in the WebEx, or press *3 on your phone. Last call for questions. All right, looks like we have a question for Eric Gilbert at NYSERDA. Question is, since Empower and Assisted Home Performance were combined into one program with Empower Plus, and private for-profit contractors are given access to this grant funds to assist low-income families, what protections are in place for those who are low income from having to pay for their portion of the HP measures? Eric, can you address that question?
Yeah, I mean, prior to the merging of Empower and Assisted Home Performance, the vast majority of contractors that participated in both programs. So it's not like we suddenly had a new influx of private contractors come in or anything like that. You know, we encourage households to work with their contractors. If they have any questions about their project, they're provided with an email and a phone number to call. That's true before the project ends and after the project ends. They can also, a household can, like I said, request a quality assurance inspection if they feel like, you know, something that the contractor said they were going to install was not installed or something along those lines. So yeah, I think there's avenues for participants to reach out as needed if they're not comfortable with something or they feel like the project wasn't what they were expecting. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think that's all. That's all. Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to add. I mean, a low-income household shouldn't have any out-of-pocket expenses. It's very rare, but occasionally, if a cap is exceeded or if there's a measure that the program doesn't install, then they can work with their contractor to you know, do that. It'll still be included as part of the program measures, but that could be a potential out-of-pocket expense. But that should all be clear between the contractor and the household. And if it's not, then they can by all means reach out to the program.
Thanks, Eric. All right, we have a question from the audience. Is there a centralized training to learn how to stack these? Could you provide a little more detail on what is being stacked? We'll be able to answer that question. All right, another question in the chat box. Are they informed they qualify for WAP at zero cost? If that's the Weatherization Assistance Program, I believe the presenter unfortunately had to leave early today, so they're not available. But if someone else can answer that, I'm not sure.
I can't answer on the Weatherization Assistance Program. When a customer applies to Empower Plus, they will receive a notification on what their incentives are. It'll say either a 50% incentive or no cost measures.
And if I,
All right, then Eric, go ahead.
I can add to that, Alex, on the question, are they informed they qualify for WAP at zero cost? So if a project should happen to come through a hub, they are informed of all the programs they're eligible for, which is also HCR's Weatherization Program, which is free, as well as NYSERDA's Empower Plus program.
And then the question I think is also for Eric, is there a centralized training to learn how to stack these programs?
Centralized training, no. To Lori's point, if the household is working with a hub, they're going to be identified. The hub will identify all opportunities for them. A lot of our Empower contractors are also weatherization contractors, so they would inherently be providing information on both programs. Typically, you can't incentivize the same measure twice, but you can, weatherization could pay for one certain set of measures and Empower Plus could pay for another set of measures. So we do encourage working, hand in hand with weatherization contractors on as many projects as possible.
Thanks, Eric. All right, we just have a few minutes left. Well, it looks like we have one more question in the chat box. When a private contractor states they are over the cap and the client needs to pay a portion, are they informed that the Weatherization Assistance Program would cover for free?
From Empower Plus, no, because we don't know if they've already participated in weatherization, so we don't want to tell them they could get something for free when it may not be the case. So they would need to apply to WAP and the Weatherization Assistance Program and figure it out from there.
All right, we just have a couple minutes left. So again, if you have a question, please put it into the chat box, raise your hand using the raise hand icon, or press *3 on your phone. All right, so we're at time, and I don't see any more questions. So on behalf of today's panelists, I would like to thank you for attending today's workshop. The slides and recordings will be posted to the Department of Public Service website at www.dps.ny.gov/winter. Again, that's dps.ny.gov/winter. If you have not received a copy of the slides prior to the event, a copy will be sent to participants who joined through the WebEx. If you joined by phone and would like a copy, you may request a copy of the slides by emailing us at consumer.outreach@dps.ny.gov. Again, consumer.outreach@dps.ny.gov, or by visiting our website, www.dps.ny.gov/winter. We wish you a safe and warm winter. This concludes the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. I will now end the recording.